Good morning, Chair. My name is Maurice Otunga, the CEC, in charge of Finance and Economic Planning.
Good morning, Chair. I'm CPA Eric Ocheng Jalango, Head of Accounting Services. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. I'm CPA Janet Apio, Director, Internal Audit Services.
Good morning, Chair and Honorable Members. I'm Victoria, Chief Officer in charge of Trade, Tourism and Industrialization.
Morning, Chair and the committee. My name is Holly Edward, Legal Advisor to the Governor.
Okay. Good morning, Chair. My name is David Ligao. I'm the Deputy Director of ICT E-Governance Innovation.
Morning, Chair.
It was one letter that was requesting for responses on both the report of the executive and the receiver of revenue. I don't think that that would be a statement of fact, Governor.
No, sorry. Let me give you the correct perspective. Since we were responding to the resolutions, that the status on the resolutions, there was no resolution relating to this matter.
There was. We
didn't receive it.
We gave recommendations on the executive, but with regards to the receiver of revenue report, the Senate adopted the report as is. And therefore, entities, even though there were no recommendations, entities were supposed to respond to all the issues raised by the Auditor General. And I know you have sat in this chair, and you know the practical difficulties that we faced this financial year, trying to consider all the reports before the 30th of March. And therefore, even when we invited you to appear before this committee, I think you sent written responses. It is on basis of written responses that we made recommendations. Or did Migori appear before us?
No, they did not.
Yeah, so it was on the basis of your written responses that we generated these recommendations. But due to limitations of time, the Senate took the position that the receiver of revenue report would be adopted as is, so that it can now be discussed during the implementation period. And that should have come out clearly in our communication, clerk. Did you try to get the advice of the clerks on this?
That is the area that was unclear to us. So we did not, we are not tabling anything because of that lack of clarity.
Auditor, I thought you'd also advise the client on that.
Yeah, sure. Even from our side, when
necessary. And that explanation cannot be done as a by the way. It needs to be done properly and formally, and either through a proper appearance or through proper written submissions. So, Governor, we will direct that before we conclude this exercise, I think the clerks will communicate to you on the approach we have taken, whether we will require your physical presence or whether we are going to take written explanations on this particular matter. Because on the face of it, it looks very alarming that your bottom line has dropped by 70 million. There must be an explanation, but that explanation needs to be done formally.
I agree with you absolutely, but just because it has arisen verbally, there wasn't a drop, which we will explain to you. We had omitted capturing FIF. It was actually, there was a growth, but I appreciate the fact that we need to present it in terms of what is documented, what is verifiable, and what is accurate. Sorry about the mix-up. We will put it up and the explanation as soon as possible.
Yeah, so that needs to come, because again, even if you talk of FIF, the question would be, why did you budget for 480 million if that was the thinking? Your budget was 480 million. Your actual was 337 million. So that explanation needs to be on record, because there's an exercise we have asked the PBO to carry out where we want to do a proper factual ranking of counties when it comes to fiscal responsibility. And I think it would be important that the parameters that PBO is using are parameters that are supported by formal written responses. So members will take a view on whether we will require the presence of the county to explain this, because it's quite significant, or whether we will take the written responses. We shall advise the clerk, who will communicate.
Just Chair, for my own information.
Vice Chair.
Did we get written responses for the initial, when we were requesting for the responses? We got for the executive. Did we get for ROR? And is it only for Migori or it's for the rest of the counties? Maybe we need to know. Did you get the initial responses, written responses, which you looked at to do our report for executive and for ROR?
Chair, with your permission, perhaps the auditor can respond at the prevailing situation in March on ROR, whether they had received, I believe that is the question, Vice Chairman.
So that you can know if the problem is unique to Migori or to other counties.
Chairman, I want to confirm that when we were doing the reporting in the month of March, we had responses from Migori for ROR. They were there, they were available.
Because then it would be a different case altogether of non-provision of documents. Yeah.
Sorry, Vice Chair, did you get the answer to the question you have asked?
The auditor says that they had given the responses.
Yeah, the only challenge, the only difficulty was timelines for consideration, because the ROR report was tabled on the 20th of February, 2025. OAG, this came outside the. We need to know whether it was relayed to Parliament earlier and just tabled late, because it was tabled on 20th of February, and we had to we reported to the House on the 27th of March. Then we didn't have much time to do the analysis. So I think Migori falls into that category where there seems to be, there is a drop in the reported on-source revenue. There must be an explanation, as you have suggested, but that explanation must be done in a proper formal sitting. So I think we don't need to belabor the point.
May I put it in perspective? I think there was communication to us, and we were expected to respond in March. We did respond, and all of these documents were submitted to the Senate. Now, the reason why we are in the state in which we are, we had expected that the issues raised for which we are appearing today would have been raised for us to respond. But the fact of the matter, if you look at the record we have at the Senate, there was no drop in revenue. That is the truth. So today we came here with the assumption that the issues that required the status report were the ones that required the tabling of responses. But when it comes to the ROR, we have records of what we have with the Senate, and now that you have advised that we need to respond to them, because we'll respond to them, but there is no drop in revenue. That's the point I want to capture, and it is already in your records if it is analyzed.
Let's schedule a proper conversation on that, because this is a report of the Auditor General that I'm referring to that has analyzed total receipts. Senator Gataya, go on record, please.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Senator Mwenda Gataya, the county member of this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Any preliminaries, Senator Chirarge?
Maybe, Chair, I find it curious that I've never seen a governor coming with a deputy governor, because I believe in order of governance structure, the deputy governor should remain back in the county, just in case of anything. Or governor, you don't trust your deputy governor, so that when you leave, he would have done a coup d'etat when you are back in the county.
Maybe the deputy governor is on induction.
No, he cannot be on induction. That is a governor in waiting.
Let's allow the governor to respond.
That situation would only arise if you are traveling out of Kenya. This is Kenya, Migori and Nairobi. Actually, we fly to Migori within 45 minutes. We are always on call, and the deputy governor is always at hand to support the governor. So we work together, I think it's better that way.
Yeah, in fact, Chair, it is a rare sight. That is why he raised it, because most times the relationship is not too cordial. If you look at your neighbors in the region, there are some who cannot sit with their deputies the way you've done. So I think it is something to be applauded. Personally, I feel that that is the situation.
Yeah, so I hope that Sia is taking note. I hope Trans Nzoia is taking note. And probably Kakamega. I hope they are taking note that you can have a deputy governor who pulls together rather than pulling apart. I think for me, the more interesting observation is a presence in the room of the internal auditor plus the chair of the audit committee. Did I hear someone introduce themselves as the chair of the audit committee? Yeah, so we feel that in this exercise, the chair audit committee needs to be present. Because if you look at the charter, the audit committee charter, you have a responsibility that intersects with what we are doing. In fact, before we go to the governor, now that the county assembly is not here, the county assembly would have told us whether they have already processed this report. They are the primary overseers. Many a times they claim that the Senate is taking away their function. And so we would have been happy for them to be here to tell us that they have already considered this report, they have made several recommendations, and then this committee would have just adopted the recommendations and tied them with the ones that the Senate had made. I am not sure, now that the Assembly is not here, Governor, whether your officers have been called before the County Assembly Public Accounts Committee to discuss the report of the Auditor General for 2023-2024.
Let me ask my CEC responsible for finance and planning to respond to that.
Proceed.
Chair, we have before the committee.
For which financial year?
2023-2024.
And has the process been concluded? Have you seen the report of the Assembly following that exercise?
Not yet, Chair.
Auditor General, were you involved in that interrogation? Because it cannot be between the Assembly and the Executive. The auditor is a prosecutor.
I'm not sure whether they have called for the executive, but what I know is that the Migori County Assembly has processed a number of reports, including the hospitals, water companies, and even municipalities. But for the executive, no.
Yeah, so we still have a problem in terms of the Assembly is doing what they're supposed to do. Really, as a secondary overseer, we would have been happy if the Assembly had done what is expected. But chair of the audit committee, I don't know when you took over office, but if you look at the charter for audit committees, you have certain responsibilities relating to the reports of the Auditor General. Could you let us know whether as an audit committee you have reviewed some of these reports, whether you have provided any advice to management on the basis of the findings of the Auditor General? Sergeant at Arms, please provide her with a mic. And maybe just reintroduce yourself for record purposes.
Mr. Chair, so that then she can answer both. Because I've looked at the paragraphs, there's no paragraph for the internal controls and the internal audit. How do you work? Because then you'd have a good practice here. An example of a good practice in the counties. How many meetings do you have? You know, how does your audit report then inform the external audit? Just give us those insights.
Yes. Proceed.
I'm Florence Achin, Chair, Internal Audit Committee Chair, Migori County. Yes, we do meet quarterly
to review reports, internal audit reports, and then we make recommendations on the gaps and do follow-ups. But we have quarterly reports.
And Auditor General, of course, you rely on internal audit reports for you to render your opinion. Have you seen some of those reports? Is it factual?
Yes, Chair. We normally look in terms of the way the governance structure is, especially if the internal audit is working and they do the quarterly meetings. That really helps in terms of the continuous improvement of the processes and also strengthening the internal controls. So we have seen those reports, and that's why, as one of the vice chairs said, we cannot see the issue of the audit committee's non-existence, or maybe the internal audit report has not been provided. So the internal audit reports are there, and the committee is also in place, which really helps in terms of building a strong internal controls.
Because these sessions are also to build capacity, what is your expectation of the chair and the team with regards to your report? Once you have issued your report, and of course Parliament is considering, what is the role of the County Audit Committee as far as this report is concerned? Is there some advice they should provide to management?
Yes, Chair. Internal audits play a key role, even the committee. Some of the issues which border, especially the controls issues or even the policy issues, is being expected that the internal audit raise those issues, and they can also do the follow-up on the behalf of the managements to ensure that some of the issues which have been raised by the external audit are being closed. That's the only way you can able to see some value additions. So for us, even when we have the entry meetings, we really emphasize that the head of the internal audit must be in the entry meeting and also the exit meeting, so that the internal audit can able to pick the issues which are also being raised by the external auditor, for them to now do the follow-up issues and also collaborate the issues so that they can able to strengthen the entity's controls.
Fine. I think it will come, when we look at pending bills, we will bring back the internal auditor and the audit committee, because this is an area where you find that county governors want to set up task forces, and yet they've got internal capacity that ideally should be the first port of call for verification of pending bills and verification of invoices. So since that's a substantive issue, we'll bring back the chair and the internal auditor into the conversation. Unless there's something you want to say? Has your remuneration improved?
Yes.
As members of the audit committee?
Yes.
SRC revised the guidelines?